Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, 유발 노아 하라리. Chapter 2, The Tree of Knowledge. In the previous chapter, we saw that although sapiens had already populated East Africa 150,000 years ago, they began to overrun the rest of planet Earth and drive the other human species to extinction only about 70,000 years ago. In the intervening millennia, even though these archaic sapiens looked just like us and their brains were as big as ours, they did not enjoy any marked advantage over other human species, did not produce particularly sophisticated tools, and did not accomplish any other special feat. In fact, in the first recorded encounter between sapiens and Neanderthal, the Neanderthal won. About 100,000 years ago, some sapiens crew migrated north to the Levant, which was Neanderthal territory, but failed to secure a firm footing. It might have been due to nasty natives, an inclement climate, or unfamiliar local parasite. Whatever the reason, the sapiens eventually retreated, leaving the Neanderthals as master of the Middle East. This poor record of achievement has led scholars to speculate that the internal structure of brain of these sapiens was probably different from ours. They looked like us, but their cognitive abilities, learning, remembering, communicating, were far more limited. Teaching such as ancient sapiens English, persuading him of the truth of Christian dogma, or getting him to understand the theory of evolution would probably have been hopeless undertaking. Conversely, we would have had a very hard time learning his language and understanding his way of thinking. But then, beginning about 70,000 years ago, Homo sapiens started doing very special things. Around that date, sapiens band left Africa for a second time. This time they drove the Neanderthal and all other human species not only from the Middle East but from the face of Earth. Within a remarkably short period, sapiens reached Europe and East Asia about 45,000 years ago. They somehow crossed the open sea and landed in Australia, a continent hitherto untouched by humans. The period from about 70,000 years ago to about 30,000 years ago witnessed the invented of both lamps, bows and arrows and needles, essential for sewing warm clothing. The first object that can reliably be called art date from this era is the Subtitle, Lion Man on page 25, as though the first clear evidence for religion, commerce, and social stratification. Page 25. An ivory figurine of the Lion Man or Lion Woman from the Stadel Cave in Germany 32,000 years ago. The body is human, but the head is leonine. This is one of the first indisputable examples of art and probably of religion and of the ability of human mind to imagine things that do not really exist. Most researchers believe that these unprecedented accomplishments were the product of a revolution in science cognitive abilities. They maintain that the people who drove the Neanderthal to extinction settled Australia and carved the Stadel Lion Man were as intelligent, creative, and sensitive as you are. If you were to come across the artists of the Stardale Cave, you would learn their language and their hours. We'd be able to explain to them everything we know, from the adventures of Alice in Wonderland to the paradox of quantum physics, and they could teach us how their people view the world. The appearance of new ways of thinking and communicating between 70,000 and 30,000 years ago constitute the cognitive revolution. What caused it? We are not sure. The most commonly believed theory argued that accidental genetic mutation changed the inner wiring of the brain of sapiens, enabled them to think in unprecedented way and to communicate using an altogether new type of language. We might call it the tree of knowledge mutation. Why did it occur in sapiens DNA rather than in that of Neanderthal? It was a matter of pure chance as far as we can tell, but it's more important to understand the consequence of the tree of knowledge mutation than its cases. What was so special about the new sapiens language that is enabled us to conquer the world? It was not the first language. Every animal has some kind of language. Even insects such as bee and ant know how to communicate in sophisticated way, informing one another of the whereabouts of food. Neither was it the first vocal language. Many animals, including all ape and monkey species, have vocal language. For example, green monkey use call of various kind of communicate. Zoologists have identified one call of the means careful, an eagle, a slightly different call one careful, a lion, and the researchers played the recording of the first call to the group of monkey. The monkey stopped when they were doing and looked up for the fear. When the same group heard the recording of second call, the lion warning, they quickly scrambled up a tree. Sapiens can produce many more distinct sounds than green monkey, but whale and elephant have equally impressive abilities. A parrot can say anything Albert Einstein could say, as well as mimic the sound of phone ringing, door slamming, and siren wailing. Whatever advantage Einstein had over a parrot, it wasn't vocal. What then is so special about our language? The most common answer is that our language is amazingly supple. We can connect a limited number of sound and sign to produce an infinite number of sentences which with a distinct meaning. We can thereby ingest, store, and communicate a prodigious amount of information about the surrounding world. A green monkey can wail to its comrade, careful a lion, but a modern human can tell her friends that this morning, near the bend in the river, he saw a lion tracking a herd of bison. She can then describe the exact location, including the different paths leading to the area, which this information the members of her band can put their heads together and discuss whether they should approach the river, chase away the lion, and hunt the bison. A second theory agreed that our unique language involved as a meaning of sharing information about the world, but the most important information needed to be conveyed was about humans, not about lion and bison. Our language evolved as a way of gossiping. According to this theory, Homo sapiens is primarily a social animal. Social cooperation is our key for survival and reproduction. It's not enough for individual men and women to know the whereabouts of lion and bison. It's much more important to them to know who is in their hate, who is sleeping with whom, who is honest, and who is a cheat. The amount of information that one must obtain and store in order to track the ever-changing relationship of even a few dozen individuals is staggering. In a band of 50 individuals, there was 1,225 one-on-one relationships and countless more complex social combinations. All apes show keen interest in such social information, but they have trouble grasping effectively. Neanderthal and archaic Homo sapiens probably also had a hard time talking behind each other's backs. A much more lined ability, which is in fact essential for cooperation in large members. The new linguistic skill that modern sapiens acquired about 70 millennia ago enabled them to gossip for hours to end. Reliable information about who could be trusted meant that small band could expand into large band. Sapiens could develop tighter and more sophisticated type of cooperation. The gossip theory might sound like a joke, but numerous studies support it. Every day, the vast majority of human communication, whether in the form of email, phone call, or newspaper column, is gossip. It comes so natural to us that it seems as if the language evolved for this very purpose. Do you think that historic professor chat about the reason for the First World War when they meet for lunch, or the nuclear physicists spend their coffee breaks at scientific conferences talking about the clock? Sometimes, but more often, they gossip about the professor who caught a husband cheating, or the quarrel between the head of a department and the dean, or the rumors that a colleague used his research fund to buy a Lexus. Gossip usually focuses on wrongdoing. Rumor mongers are the original false state. Journalists who inform society about and thus protected from cheat and freeloaders. Most likely both the gossip theory and there is a lion the river theory is valid. Yet, the truly unique feature of our language is not its ability to transmit information about man and lion. Rather, its ability to transmit information about things that do not exist at all. As far as we know, Omni sapiens can talk about the entire kind of entities, and they have never seen, touched, or smelled. Legend, myth, God, and religion appear to put forth with the cognitive revolution. Many animals in human species could previously say, careful, a lion. Thanks to the cognitive revolution, Homo sapiens acquired the ability to say the lion is the guardian spirit of our tribe. This ability to speak about fiction is about a unique feature of sapiens language. It's relatively easy to agree that Homo sapiens can speak about things that can't really exist and believe 6 impossible things before breakfast. You could never convince a monkey to give you a banana by promising him right Miss Banana after death in monkey heaven. But why is it important? After all, fiction can be dangerously misleading or distracting. People who go to the forest looking for fairy and unicorn would seem to have less chance of survival than people who go looking for mushroom and deer. And if you spend hours praying on to non-existing guardian spirit, aren't you wasting previous time better spent foraging, fighting, and fornicating? But fiction has enabled us not merely to imagine things, but to do so collectively. We can weave common myths, such as the biblical creation story, the Dreamtime myths of Aboriginal Australia, and the nationalist myths of modern states. Such myths give sapiens the unprecedented ability to cooperate flexibly in large numbers. Ant and bee can also work together in huge numbers, but they do so in a very rigid manner and only with close relatives. Wolf and chimpanzee cooperate far more flexibly than ants, but they can do so only with small member of other individual that they know intimately. Sapiens can cooperate in extremely flexible ways with countless numbers of strangers. That's why sapiens rule the world, whereas ants eat our leftover and chimps are locked in zoo and research laboratories.